A great thing happened today. I saw some grass. I did. Big pile of snow, but a lot of grass. And I saw it walking right into the building here this evening. It was just like, oh my God, I've seen that before. 47 degrees on my car thermometer driving over for the production of Dan York's State of Mind. Temperature readings projected near 50 for the whole week. Yes, Virginia, there will be a spring, and we'll be able to play softball and lacrosse and baseball and put the tee in the ground, maybe by Easter. Welcome in another full week of the program. Nice to have you aboard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we're going to have a conversation about nutrition. There's a program, a special program called Kids Eat Healthy, and it's actually taking place this week on Wednesday. So Joy Feldman will come in and tell us all about it. I'm looking forward to meeting her. But in the meantime, we've got some things to think about and issues to cover. So let us do that and look to the rundown and ask some questions about who we are. The president talked about that at the Selma presentation this past weekend. This is the breaking news, sort of, from Governor Raimondo this afternoon. She called a press conference on that particular matter. A very interesting comment by the former U.S. Attorney on Newsmakers this weekend regarding government corruption is worth a little bit of thought between you and me. And things like Cranston the things that happen in Cranston just sometimes don't seem to go away. It continues to be a mess over that traffic ticket, I should say the parking ticket controversy that just lingers there. And of course, it's tournament week for the college basketball teams. We always try to make a mental note of things going on in the sports world, and your state of mind is important to us. We'll hear from you. So let us dig into that list of things and break it down a little further. Who we are. The president was talking about that. The headline from the Selma ceremonies commemorating 50 years ago, our march is not finished. Here's some of the pictures that took place as they commemorated the walk 50 years ago. It's amazing. A little bit more difficult time 50 years ago than it was walking over the bridge this past weekend. The president spoke at the event.
Marched as Americans who had endured hundreds of years of brutal violence, countless daily indignities, but they didn't seek special treatment, just the equal treatment promised to them almost a century before.
You know, the president, I thought was, from what I was able to see, and I read part of the speech, was pretty inclusive in his conversation, which I think is a good thing. You know, when you mark 50 years, you have to suggest that there's been progress. Now, all the challenges we've had with police and the African-American community and the conflicts and the turbulence and the protests kind of feel or make you feel like we've actually taken a step back. I think we've got to make a distinction between those who loudly protest today's events and what most of mainstream America most likely feels, and that is there is equity between black and white, or at least for the most part. There's always going to be some bigotry that builds into racism, but for the most part, if you measure 50 years ago, I would think one would have to say we're in a lot better shape, right? Alrighty, doesn't mean we don't keep working on it. Governor Raimondo needs to keep working on it, man. I don't know what she was doing today. Here's the headline. This one comes from WPRO.com. The governor pushes for the minimum wage increase. I'm confused. I mean, she's got a budget address that she's got to do on Thursday. Why she sticks this in the middle of it, I'm not quite sure, but there's probably some political thinking that hasn't dawned on me. Look, you know, she made a deal with labor to make this thing an issue. I understand that we have to be competitive when it comes to minimum wage, but competition goes two ways. We have to have businesses that can afford the minimum wage, and we have to have employees that feel like they're being treated fairly. In Connecticut, it's $8.60 an hour and headed to $9.60 an hour, and then eventually $10.10. They've got a 3-year plan. In Massachusetts, they've got a 9, 10, 11 plan, right? By 2017, they'll be $11 an hour. We're stuck on $9 an hour, just visited. We seem to like to do everything in 1-minute increments or 1-year increments. And so the governor didn't offer any kind of comprehensive 2, 3, 4-year plan or a system to just put a mechanism in to ride minimum wage out in a responsible way. Instead, she just said, I want to go to 1010, and then she made a really awful argument for it.
Raising the minimum wage is not only the right thing to do, but it's good for business. You know, you see there are many employers like Walmart, The Gap, TJ Maxx that are voluntarily increasing their wages because they know that if they pay a little bit more, they're going to get higher quality employees.
And it's just, honestly, all due respect to the governor, who I think is brilliant, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard her say. It really is. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard her say. It's like, oh. Wait a second. If we are, come on back to me, Steve. If we are in a situation here where we're making a minimum wage increase proposal based on the voluntary efforts that companies provide in order to create employee retention, there's no common ground between those two things. If you are lifting the bottom floor in wages, those voluntary decisions that other companies are going to have to make will be higher. In other words, if like types of jobs, if company A is minimum wage and company B for a like job is minimum wage plus 50 cents, I understand why they'd have employee retention. That's got nothing to do with the bottom floor on minimum wage. The truth is, she made a deal with labor. The truth is, she has a policy thought that we should be higher paid in the minimum wage category. She thinks, I hope she thinks, it's good for the economy. But the argument she's making is just really embarrassingly below the level of the governor. All right, well, we'll keep talking about it. I don't know what she's doing. Next item. Interesting comment on newsmakers this past weekend from Robert Corrente, the former U.S. attorney, who suggests that we need a more robust government. This in response to Gordon Fox. You remember, just last week, don't forget, Speaker of the House makes a deal for 3 years to go away. The federal judge is yet to authorized this 3-year plea agreement. And you saw U.S. Attorney Peter Nerona there, who made a stomping speech about culture and government and what our expectations ought to be for our elected officials and what we'll, what we'll permit and what we won't permit and what they ought to be doing. And it was very interesting. I thought pretty profound. The guys, Ted and Tim on Newsmakers, asked Robert Corrente, the former U.S. attorney, what he thought about it, and he suggested that we need a more robust government. And he gave some examples of what that might provide.
I think there are some structural changes that you could make inside the state government that would help to diffuse the power a little bit. I mean, we have a very unusual setup in which you have a governor's office which is close to being a figurehead and an enormous amount of power centered in the General Assembly, particularly in the Speaker's office. And that has its benefits and its disadvantages, and one disadvantage is that it's hard to find out what's going on.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Bob. One of the things we have to do is get a General Assembly who would consider the kind of changes that you're suggesting we need to make. I mean, all of these changes for a robust government have to come from the not-so-robust government. So I'm thinking, and I asked a question on the radio today on WPRO, where I'm on the radio noon to 3 every day. I asked, how do we get there? And there were a lot of different answers to my question. But one of the things that I've supplied as an answer is initiative petition. In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the people can raise a question, put it on the ballot, and make systemic change to government. Here, we need the General Assembly to actually permit us to vote on something that's widespread, a larger issue. In other words, we can't change our government unless the General Assembly allows us to. We ought to be able to do that ourselves. Well, how are we going to get that done? Well, we got to convince the General Assembly to give us that permission. Well, how are we going to get that done? I don't know. Through a robust protest. Follow? Cranston's a mess when it comes to the politics of police and the like. The chief is lawyered up because he thinks he might be in a little bit of a thing with the mayor. And now we've got a headline here in the Providence Journal, which I thought was interesting. The rift between Fung and Regasta has worried the city council. Now, who are these guys? I'll throw you a little roll of the tape right here and show you the Cranston police. But it seems that the gentleman who you'll see coming up here, Stephen Antonucci, the former captain who was the guy who initiated the parking ticket scandal, that moved pretty quickly for me. But the first guy is Stephen Antonucci, the second guy is the mayor, and the third guy is Vincent Regasta, the labor attorney hired by the city of Cranston to do a lot of labor negotiating. And I guess he told the city council that he and Fung aren't talking much. That must be because Fung is all wrapped up trying to figure out how Antonucci and he can mend fences because they're all political allies. And Antonucci is really not a fan favorite when it comes to the rest of the city right now because of the parking ticket scandal he initiated. Yet Fung, for some reason, needs to have him back in the fold, which tells me that there's a story between those two guys that Fung doesn't really want to make public, and Ragasta is just going through the motions trying to make this whole thing, you know, finished and go away, and it's not happening. Did that help you? Read the story. You may understand it better, but just understand this. Cranston's a mess still when it comes to the police and the mayor's office. Tournament week, we'll talk more about it as we go along, but there was a senior day, special day, both at PC and URI. Here's URI, and some of the seniors got their awards. Gilvitas Baruta right there. And they beat St. Joseph's and secured their 21st win. PC, not so much, but you know what? They're already in the show. So their Big East tournament is not as crucial as the Atlantic 10 tournament is for URI. URI's got to win theirs. PC is most likely going to the NCAA tournament. A lot of basketball stuff for the Junkies over the course of this week, no doubt. Your state of mind is important to us. All you got to do is give us a ring at 228-1886. Email us, Facebook post, tweet. Billy tweets in response to a tweet I put out, I guess, where I was kind of joking that Governor Raimondo might be thinking about growing marijuana. You know, she wasn't for it during the election season, but she's now somewhat open to the idea. Why? Because the budget's in trouble and it brings in revenue. He says Raimondo should use Bob Healy. You know, Bob ran for office himself and suggested that URI could grow the marijuana. You know, Governor Raimondo says she's going to grow her way out of this problem, or we're all going to grow our way out of this deficit problem. Right now, the only growth plan I see is pot plants. When we come back, healthy eating. Stay with us. I have no idea what this is. I have no, Joy, what is this thing?
This is a donut hat. It's a funny way to teach kids.
You wear
they
that?
are what they eat.
Are you gonna
Should I put
ruin
it on
your
for you?
beautiful TV appearance and put that thing on?
I'll put it on for a second so you guys can all see. But it's a great way to teach kids in a funny, simple way that they are what they eat. Otherwise, they don't pay attention. What do you think? You want to try it on?
No. There's a lot of donuts on that thing.
Yes, there are. It was actually made locally by a gentleman here in Rhode Island. When I showed him the cover of the book, Is Your Hair Made of Donuts? I said, you've got to create this wonderful hat for me to keep the kids' attention.
You are somebody who had one career.
Yes.
The light went off, and you started in another direction.
Yes.
And now you're deeply immersed in this world of nutrition and teaching kids on how to eat healthy. Give me the 2-minute version of your life travel here. By the way, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me.
You bet. So tell me your
So
story.
I was a corporate attorney back in the 80s. I did mergers and acquisitions, and I went on to have my first child, and after I had him, I got very ill with an autoimmune issue that affected all the joints in my body, and there were days I couldn't even walk. Fast forward, about a year later, we moved to Arizona. I got connected with an MD who didn't practice medicine, he just did nutrition. He clipped my hair, hence the title of the book, Is Your Hair Made of Donuts? And he was able to see deficiencies, put me on a healthy diet, lots of supplements, all my blood work normalized. Now, come ahead about another 15 years, that little baby I had grew up, and I went back into the field of nutrition. That doctor in Arizona became my mentor. I wound up writing a book for adults, and my clients all said to me, you've got to write a book for kids. So I wrote a kid's book, taking my son to college, was sitting at the airport at Green, and I noticed at 7 a.m. that kids were eating donuts and drinking those neon-colored blue drinks, and they started to fall apart. And I knew I had to have a funny life.
The kids started to fall apart.
Yeah, they started to cry and scream. Yeah. Right. And I knew in my heart to keep kids' attention, I had to have a lighthearted approach that would teach them they are what they eat. Well, after I watched them eating the donuts and falling apart, knowing the hair can kind of tell you a little bit about what's going on with the biochemistry in the body, I yelled out on the airplane to my whole family, oh my goodness, I thought of the kids' book. The title would be, Is Your Hair Made of Donuts? So the book is in English and in Spanish, and we had it animated. It was part of the Rhode Island Children's Film Festival last year, and I was asked to create a nonprofit, the Picture of Children's Health. It was a path I never thought I would take.
That's a perfectly executed articulation of your life travel. And now, of course, you've got everybody asking a question. At least I am, as I'm thinking, as someone who's raised just one child. And with a York family chemistry that is challenged by the battle of the bulge, whose responsibility is it, right? So you're seeing these kids eating the donuts and drinking the blue goopy stuff.
Right.
You know, that's being given to them.
Right.
So how do you get to this?
I think there's multiple factors. One is we've got to get in and educate the children. The kids are what helped the anti-smoking campaign, you know, back in the 70s. They were educated in school, and at the nonprofit, we're taking that approach. We're working with the children. We also have handouts for parents, and, you know, getting the businesses to change would be great, but that's a very big task.
So you think going into the schools and talking about nutrition is the best way to do it? Because moms and dads are what? Not checked in? I mean, obviously, nothing's more important to parents, hopefully, than the health and welfare of their children.
Right. Well, I think it's good to start with the children because they can bring the message home.
They come asking questions.
Right. And then we have information that can go home with the children so that there can be a dialogue between the children and the parents. But yeah, you're right. It's very important to get the parents on board. But we're working with the young ones.
You've got a project this Wednesday. Tell us about it.
Yes. Eat Healthy Rhode Island. It's taking place all day in the state. We have over 220 schools on board in the state, 29 school districts. We estimate about 80,000 children will be participating. There's a whole selection of books they can read. We're asking the children to wear green and to bring in a healthy green snack. Wear green, eat green. Our kickoff is at Martin Middle School. The Lieutenant Governor will be there. We have some other celebrities coming as well. There'll be exercise demonstrations. There will be hydroponics, how to grow food and water. We're doing cooking demo.
How to grow food and water.
So you can grow vegetables with water and lights and minerals. Very inexpensive way to teach kids how to grow. So, you know, farming is great, but you can't do it year-round here in Rhode Island. But here in the schools, you can actually have little hydroponic systems set up, and they can grow their own vegetables. And it's very inexpensive.
All right. When we come back, we'll tell you more about the event, how you can be involved. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Joy Feldman is a Rhode Islander, correct?
No, I'm
you're
from
in
New
Rhode Island
York,
now.
but I've been here for 20 years.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, you know, I'm originally from New York, and I think you're here 20 years.
20 years. Does that make you a Rhode Islander?
You know, most Rhode Islanders would say no, right?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like we're just passing through.
I
We've been
know.
around about the same amount of time. Your book is called "Is Your Hair Made of Donuts?" And I apologize, we don't. Where do people get that book?
It's available on Amazon.
You got a copy
I have
of it?
it. Yes.
You got to look at it.
You could see the cover.
You came with some props, which is good.
Yep, that's the English version.
Try that over there, Steve. Whatever. We're just.
And then we've got the Spanish version as well.
I don't know. There you go. Is your hair made of donuts? And everyone's got to have a Spanish version these days. That's a whole nother conversation. But you can see you don't want to get into that one. But it's very well. It's got lots of nice stuff in it.
And it was illustrated.
Easy for the kids to read.
By 2 RISD students as well.
Really?
So it's all been created in Rhode Island. The donut hat, the books, everything.
How long has it been published for now?
3 years.
Is it doing well?
Yeah, it's done very nicely.
Okay.
Yes.
You actually had a writing contest as part of all the stuff that you're doing with this Eat Healthy Rhode Island celebration this week. What happened?
And we're very excited to announce that the Wilbur McMahon School in Little Compton won. We had an amazing essay by a young man named Samuel, and we're going to be presenting the hydroponic system donated by Acopia Harvest International to the school. So they'll be able to grow their own vegetables.
Is it take up a lot of space?
No, not at all. It's about this high and about this wide, and it has racks, 3 racks in it, and you could put lettuce, you could put herbs, and you grow it pretty quickly.
All right. So I guess we did put up the information, but the website's important. If you guys want to know about what's happening on Wednesday, the pictureofchildrenshealth.org is the website where you can register for what specifically?
Register to participate in the event. So it's a quick little form just to fill out, and we could send any information.
For people, for schools, for everything?
For schools, for, principals.
And you already got 200 plus schools involved in the whole thing?
Yes.
Third year you're doing this?
Third year, yes.
Has it been growing?
It has been. It's been wonderful.
All right, so in essence, and from the 36,000-foot view of this whole conversation, the sooner you learn to eat better, the better off you are.
Right at birth on, yes.
Right?
Correct.
But parents sometimes make a lot of decisions that cause, I don't know, what? Behaviors and what?
There's a lot
to get
of
out of whack early.
emotion tied into food. What I ask people to do is reclaim their kitchen. Get back in there and cook with your children, cook with your family. Try not to eat out because you don't know what's in your food. So, if everybody
Try not to eat out, period?
Well, I would be very careful. I mean, yes, for certain occasions, but during the weekdays, try not to just go through a drive-through. If you plan on a Sunday, and do some cooking with the family, you can have your meals prepared for at least 3 days. So I tell people, get the kids involved. You don't have to give them all kinds of foods that are sweetened. You can do yogurts that are plain with some fresh fruit. You could get them in there to stir up vegetables and cook with you. Let them pick out the recipes. But everybody, spends a lot of money on these beautiful kitchens in their homes, and nobody uses them. So get in there and use them.
I hear from so many people who don't have time to even dine with their families.
I know.
Never mind cooking with the families. I mean, there are people watching the show going, "It's this lady. She's right. Who's going to argue?" But like, on what planet does she live where she thinks I got all this time to do this?
Well, I think what people need to do then is kind of reorganize their lives a little bit. You don't have to schedule your children into 14 activities. Pick one. Really, what kids need, I think, is some balance. So try not to spread yourself too thin as a parent.
This conversation about nutrition is not in a vacuum.
No. Lifestyle is big. Very big.
All right. So if they want to learn more about what your thoughts are on this, in addition to the book, what should they do? What should my folks do?
They can go to the pictureofchildrenshealth.org.
Okay, to that website again.
Yep, and I have a separate website as well, joyfeldman.com.
I'm sure linked. Are you linked? Good.
Yes.
So if folks are motivated by this reorganize your kitchen and your life speech, they can get more details and help. And maybe you'll get one of these, or no, that's just for you.
Yes.
That's just your own special hat.
Yes, yes.
Good luck Wednesday.
Thank you so much.
Great work. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, eat healthy, Rhode Island. We'll be right back. By the way, the State House is going to be all in green beginning this week, not just for Patty's Day and St. Joseph's Day coming up, but in terms of the Eat Healthy Rhode Island celebration. It's all coming together. Hey, listen, Wednesday of this week, by the way, we're having a get-together at Doherty's Ale House in Warwick. This is a WPRO promotion where listeners, of course viewers, you are welcome as well, to come and have a beer and just talk shop. It's an unfiltered, unedited, non-broadcast event where I get a chance to commiserate and meet with you and hear what you think about some of the issues. Very low key, but we'll have some fun. Information at 630WPRO.com. So join us on Wednesday night. I'll see you on the radio tomorrow at noon on WPRO and back here at 7:30 on MyRI TV.